times she can't handle the bombardment. You know what I'm saying? So at least to give her something to pacify him, or at least to see he's saying he wants something to eat because that's a natural, thing that he's been doing since he came out the womb, looking for food. You know what I'm saying? Like babies come out the womb looking for food. You feel me? So after so long, you develop a skill of asking for that shit, even when you're not really hungry. Cause sometimes you put food down in front of him, he'll try it, and then his body let him know, nah, you can't eat that shit right now. You know what I'm saying? Or his mind to be in a place to where it's like he remember how it feel when he eats certain things, or when his stomach start, he might have a flare up type of shit. So with that being said, it's like to try to force him to eat just because he's saying he want to eat is not the answer. You know what I'm saying? At least put food in front of him. Let him see that shit. You feel me? Let him make a decision. Because he's listening to his body right now, is what I'm noticing. And that's a great place to be, rather than people coercing him to, hey, eat this, because you did say you was hungry earlier, or you keep saying you're hungry. Like, okay, he gonna say that 10 times. So you gonna feed him 10 times a day? No, you're not. You're gonna be like, you had enough, son. You feel me? So what you need to do is understand his new norm. His new norm, like, and honestly speaking, I feel like he should keep this diet to maintain himself, because he has the antibodies that can be turned on themselves to the point to creating this situation.
You should keep this diet just of the strength of the melanated beings. We're supposed to eat
Yeah, God, like, I mean, but he's obviously showing, I'm just trying to break that down for other people to understand too. He's obviously showing traits that he has the antibodies that will recreate this situation again. You know what I'm saying? I'm just speaking the language they get, but like you said,
most people who have underlying illnesses, if you don't keep up with the maintenance of it, it's gonna come right back.
But I said it that way because I recently learned that the people who like using sickle cell for an example, the people who have these antibodies in them, they turn that shit on these people to where now what was once a superpower in a certain environment which you originated from is now turned on itself, because now this pyramidal shape is being created naturally in your cells, but it's painful because it doesn't have anything to fight off. So in a sense, the cells are bumping into each other, and it felt like needles in your, you know what I'm saying, under your skin. You feel me? So when you think about that, they have antibodies for something that occurs naturally, where we originated from. But because you're outside of your environment, now that shit is being turned on itself. Whereas we still be in Africa, these motherfuckers would be the pillar of health, and everybody be like, how you always, every time it's malaria season or it's time everybody catching that shit, you just like, out here walking around and like ain't nothing wrong. And everybody else like lessening their interactions with people and shit.
I said my forehead big, Marisha said, you a fool, we gotta stop belittling ourselves, Ashley.
You did? That's a good friend.
I said, you so right. She said, I don't know why we do that. I see this program. She says we're gonna post it, we're gonna get hella likes.
But shit, and some real shit, like you said, if it was me, granted I'm old enough to compute and remember to discipline myself, self-discipline. But at this point, I feel like he's gonna develop it by way of this. But I feel like to give him the opportunity to again change his palate too, while he's detoxing, which is what this fruit is gonna allow for him to do, it's a beautiful situation for real. And honestly, like I was telling her, I'm working towards getting back on my shit. So this just gonna prepare me to, you know what I'm saying, be all the way where I need to be. So it's like when people come, like that situation, like the text you just mentioned, when people come along and they push you in different ways, it's only uncomfortable if you don't want to grow. It's only uncomfortable when you ain't trying to hear that shit because you ain't trying to change. But when you find yourself aligned, realize it's time. You feel me? In that moment, hitting a motherfucker say some shit like that, and you don't get mad at your friend, or you don't deny what your gut telling you as far as what Junior going through, because his gut telling him, like, nigga, you not going to survive like this, and it's early. He's sensitive enough to catch that shit. You feel me? Whereas a lot of us, our body has been so desensitized through all these years of eating that type of shit. Generations of eating that type of shit to where now we done developed coping mechanisms within our body to where we can eat that shit. And you, like you said, we don't have the allergic reaction. That's the the type that closes up your throat. Instead, it's one that closes up your ass if you keep on playing. So it's one way or the other. Like, man, well, I love balance. And I love understanding what it means to be indifferent in situations in order to really next your level. Because otherwise, you're going to reach your level real fast and you're going to be like, man, I ain't got time for this. Like I said, like, you know what I'm saying? And to me, I don't like that feeling of feeling like I don't have a solution in this situation because, and I realized I was listening to, I forgot which lady it was that's like a motivational speaker, but she was like, when you frustrated, you cut yourself off from the energy of abundance. So, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, dang, and I know when you frustrated, you might as well take the time to calm yourself down, maybe write down real quick everything that you frustrated about, but then after that, move that out the way, take the time to do whatever it is that you do to relax yourself. Whether that's just sit there and breathe, get all the oxygen you need to your brain, get that blood flowing so that you can really, like we keep saying, that optimal, like optimize your body to where you at a point you can make a full decision.
Any negative emotion puts you in discord of alignment. And like I said, negative thoughts, negative emotion is 4 to 7 times faster than any positive emotion. So, like Esther Hicks say, which you do a lot, the best thing to do when you are having a negative emotion or frustration, anger, anything like that, is to stop and either take a nap or meditate. Because
I used to do that by accident.
when you go to sleep and you recharge, you can wake up and not focus on that. Abraham Hicks say, um, don't put yourself back in that same wobble of that frustration.
Yeah.
Meditate or take a nap. Get yourself into a new vortex of thinking. Like,
that's that intentional and intuition. You feel me? Because you can do something intentionally to tap into your intuition too, though. That's what you. That's really
living intuitively is like living with no self-discipline. Because when you live intuitively,
I mean, anything too much, anything can be bad. So I laugh because I'm like, I see what you said.
Because
it can
when
be.
you live with no, I mean, when you don't have self-discipline, you
But what if you discipline yourself to when you listen to your intuition? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. That's what you do. You discipline yourself. So, like I was saying this morning, you know when your intuition is guiding you to the right answers. Because if you don't have no, think about it, if you don't have no self-discipline, you'll make a lot of the wrong answers.
Oh, well, say what your synopsis was then again? You said self-discipline and intuition. What was your synopsis?
I said living intuitively is just living because what I said this morning was live with intention and eat with what your body is telling you to eat, not with just that might taste good. Eat with what you know you should be eating. Red is for the heart, green is for the lungs, and green is for the digestive, and blue is for the lungs and shit like blueberries.
But that wouldn't be intentional.
That's intent. That's eating intentional, but it's eating intuitively because your body know.
Man, I forgot about that color shit.
Your body know.
I mean, I wasn't thinking about it right now. So when you just brought it back up, it was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that pocket of air that I could use for oxygen. But you're right.
Your body know what to eat when you eat intuitively.
I see that. I see.
But when you don't have no self-discipline, it's kind of like living intuitively because you just doing everything, whatever you want, or whatever my mind. That's like I was telling you, whatever seed you plant in your subconscious is gonna do it. That's living intuitively because whatever you say, you gonna do it, which sometimes can be bad. You don't just go. We all have bad thoughts, negative thoughts, everything. So that's where the balance come in. That you know where to go. That's living intentionally. You know, even though I just had this negative thought, I'm gonna do it. Or even I had this, even something that I want to do, but I don't want to do it. My intuition telling me don't do it because I don't feel like it. Let me go off my intuition, but I know I need to do that. So I'm gonna intentionally go do that.
I get it.
But I was just thinking about that because After we talked about it this morning, I was just sitting there thinking about it more and more and more. And I'm like, that's down there, like, not ever down there not holding yourself accountable to do anything. Because you could be like, shit, my gut told me to do
Or like I mean, I get what you're saying. Cause to me, first thing that keep me from even going against that is the fact that too much of anything can be bad. Like I said, like so. Even if I just wanted to say, "Man, I just want to be intuitive, it's, that's gonna leave you off balance regardless. So I definitely get that shit. And for me, I would rather be intentional about, like you said, knowing the certain colors that's for certain parts of my body, right?
that.
And then having the intuition enough to listen to my gut to know when it's time. You know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah. But that's the aligning phase to me. That's the tuning, the tapping in. You know what I mean?
Because once you tune in, tapped in, and turned on,
No, tune in, tap in, and turned up.
nah, I'm turning myself back on. I
I'm,
ain't turning up, I'm turning
I'm
on.
turning up,
They
G.
done programmed us to be off.
Cause I
Like
feel
them
like
zombies in this bitch.
I feel like I've been on so many times that I don't really go off. I just get turned down a little bit. But I'm always on the come back up. Sometimes people get in, older people coming around, ears a little more sensitive, babies. You turn the volume down, son. You still listen to your music.
I'm not.
Hmm. I
So,
am. I keep my rhythm. I ain't talking about in that sense. Like
oh, I
don't do
thought
that.
you were saying for the older people or the babies, cut the
Don't do
music
that.
down. I said I'm not.
Don't do that, rebel. We not having that conversation. We not having a rebellious conversation. Put Angelica back in the bag. Fuck you talking about? You was like Angelica, bro. Cause I bet you was like that in your family when you was the kid.
No, I'm
You
not.
you
I'm the
was the
same way I
oldest.
am.
You was the old. Okay, that's what I'm saying. You the oldest. They be getting them little young niggas into some shit.
When I was listening to Robert Greene talk today, he talk about he ain't never held a job for longer than a year. I'm like, damn, that sounds like me. He talk about that's how you know you not supposed to be working. Like, you don't keep a job longer than a year.
Well, shit, I wish I'd have got that point when I was in my 20s, but I learned after I did it consistently that I was just proving a point to myself that I can consistently do anything. Not necessarily that I consistently could keep a job. You know, just trying to
Mm-hmm.
regain that focus of every time it's time to be on, be on. You know what I mean? That's what I used the job for this time around. Not to mention other, other benefits that came with it. But my goal was to prove that shit to myself though, and it wasn't until I decided that, like, I told remember I said I couldn't find no gig. But when I decided I was gonna prove shit to myself, certain shit opened up. First, it opened up. It was a lawn care gig. You feel me? And at that time, I was believing in myself because I was finna take the income tax money and go buy some stuff to do it. You know what I'm saying? But I was like, let me let me see how these people getting their contracts. I'm not from here. Let me see how this shit work up here. So the easiest way, I was thinking like, get a job. You know what I'm saying? And as well, I need some money too at the time. So I'm like, let me go work for somebody that do landscaping. Wound up doing that shit. Then after that, I was like, I forgot what the fuck I was watching. That made me just like, I want to say it was Wolf of Wall Street. That had me just thinking about how I always wanted to be in sales and be in the office and shit. And then I was like, man, next time I get an opportunity to be in a call center, I'm gonna do that shit again. But I'm gonna do it for real this time. Cause the last time I was in a call center, bro, I went through the training. I was bullshitting the whole time. Got out there on the float, side jack, and I took advantage of that. But by the time it was time to get on the floor, I didn't know how to do none of that shit. So of course, I wound up getting fired. But told myself I was gonna prove to myself I could teach myself how to type, as well as present myself in such a way, because I had belief in my intelligence still. You feel me? At that time, well, redeveloped the belief in my intelligence from all that time being out of work, studying our people and our cultures, how a lot of this shit came from us. I was like, now I'm confident. You feel me? I can convince anybody anything. And Lily used to always, I said Lily, Alicia used to always be a motherfucker that was telling me how to, get your application together to where you can get jobs that you ain't necessarily never worked in before, but you can get an opportunity. Whereas people gonna teach you how they want you to do the job any damn way. You know what I'm saying? You just gotta present yourself in a way to get in there. So I took that coupled with, you know, what I've been studying and all that, listen to the 13th Son, kicking the bobo and shit, and man, went in there and goddamn finesse. I was whipping it with finesse. I used to be at that motherfucker every day, like, well, not every day. Some days it would hit me like, yeah. Well, nah, every day I knew, like, I know this is an opportunity that I created. You know what I'm saying? And can't nobody stop it until I do. And truth be told, even that last day, I felt it. You know what I'm saying? When she called me from the time I went off, you know what I'm saying? Everything, like, I felt it. And I even said in my head while the shit was going on, when certain words were said that made me go and let motherfuckers know where I stand and how I'm like, I'm not taking that. I felt it in my heart like today. So by the time my boss called me, it was just like confirmation. Like I was already in that mode. Like I've already, you know what I'm saying?
Brittany killed this. It's about to make me cry.
Hell yeah, she did. I was already in my mode though. You hear me? I already was in my mode. But shit, after that, it was just like nigga, it's time. I'm free. I don't know how this finna be, but I'm cool. I'm not tripping. Cause I know as long as I stay cool about this shit, it's gonna work itself out. But yeah, you ain't gonna better tell her shit.
They called me earlier, and when I seen her, I was so fucking excited. Yes.
But yeah, as far as that shit go, bro, like and everything in life, like nigga just gotta get to it, bro. And have the proper cast around you to remind you, like, you doing the right thing, so don't get tired. I know it's hard to make a full transformation for some people, but after a while of you doing this shit, bud, this should be fun to you just like anything else you took a liking to. Like, I get a kick out of making changes in myself now. Versus like I told you as a kid, I didn't like change at all. Cause I would just be getting the hang of something and then there's changing. Like, damn, I was gonna be the best at that shit, you know. Now I realize that come with it. So it's like I look forward to it like opportunity. I'm like, oh shit, I'm glad I had the ability to see this as an opportunity versus this is some adversity. And then it's gonna build up anxiety and it's gonna hurt me. It's some kind of bird or something, cause he's over there stalking something. He be tripping. Mm, trying to make about time for his last going on. But he get Pharaoh out this bitch. Alright, what does that mean?
Right.
A Pharaoh cat. Ain't that like a wild cat? A Pharaoh cat, like.
Feral. A feral cat is like down there a rabbit cat, but yeah, it's a wild cat.
So is that a play off the word Pharaoh?
I don't know.
Cause think about it, a Pharaoh, you know, you couldn't get them. Think about it if they would try to make a Pharaoh a regular citizen. Like them people, their personality was just not made for that. Like they were born to be who the fuck they became. You feel me? Cause like they didn't just like choose pharaohs just cause like, oh, you're Ashley. Like it was so much that went into it. Like they knew about native charts. They knew who was coming. You feel me? Not to mention you had to do like um I would say something like a triathlon. Um you would have to be involved in wrestling. Like You had to be the fittest of the fittest, motherfucker, to be on top. You ain't no you finna be all sloppy jalopy ass motherfucker, and just cause you was born into this family and then you a slob and we letting you rule and shit. Like, no, fuck you. The motherfuckers they would kill the pharaoh if that motherfucker couldn't do what the fuck he say he could do. Like, them pharaohs built them pyramids. A lot of them talking about they could bring God into the people. And you know, God in them times was the light. Understanding of that energy. So in essence, what about this? No, we got light bulbs in the house. Them niggas was using the sun, of course, to first they was using the sun to bring in the light. You know what I'm saying? But then they started using the sun's energy to charge shit that they was using to make light. Because if you ever see on some of the pictures, they got some shit that look like a bulb, a big ass bulb, but it got this etheric looking electricity looking thing going through it. So when you think about that, it was a different way electrical currents flowed, or a different electrical current flow they was using or whatever. But they had some electricity, and that's what made them, you know, the pharaohs who they were. Like they for one had to go through all of that stuff to see if they was, you know, up to speed, you know, where they're being in a position, and then they had to prove themselves. Like, that shit crazy. Like, you couldn't just be no, like the politicians today, they talk that shit and then don't do the shit they say they is gonna do when they get in office. Nah, nigga will kill you. All your people will kill you. You can't get your ass up here playing like that, dog. I don't give a fuck. We like you, but we won't like you. You play like that. I was like, dang. When I got to know that, I was like, I see why we hold each other to such high regard. You feel me? Like, niggas we don't take shit off each other. But anybody else can come up and do that dumbass shit. And we know we could fuck their ass up. It ain't cause we scared. I think is we really we never had that high expectations for these people. So it's to the point like, nigga, I'm not really just that surprised that you did that shit. You know what I'm saying? This is what I expect of you. And it's the same thing reciprocated from them. But they have, like, just like us, they might have a different view of why we do what we do based on what's beneficial for them. But it don't change the facts. It's a dynamic between us that's like that. Like, and I feel like it's an honorable dynamic as far as my standpoint. Like, what I look like just going around smashing on motherfuckers, I feel like I'm greater than. Like, what? But then somebody will turn around and tell you, but you entrapped in a system, da 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 da. Who run that bitch though? Who run that bitch? Like, who the motherfucking engine? Who the motherfuckers in these buildings running these motherfuckers? You just get to take credit for what other people do. That's on you if you want to be an individual like that. I don't want to take credit for what other people do. I want to leave behind something that can help other people because I did that shit. Because I came up with that shit. Not because I stole somebody else's time and energy. So you got to answer for that shit with your own spirit. Because everybody don't got no soul. Shit, I feel like that's what stopped a lot of motherfuckers from doing certain shit. And that's what it means for people to lose their soul to an extent. Like, bitch, you out here wilding. You out here wilding, bro. You out here murking shit. You out here overusing your spermage. You know what I'm saying? Or your chrome, as the women release. But, nigga, you wild. You giving away your life force with reckless abandon. Like you said about the seeds to begin with. Nigga, you can plant whatever. I mean, you might not get no fruit, and either you do get fruit, it could be diseased fruit. Like, they don't talk about that. And like I said, you can plant whatever, don't mean it's gonna come up out the ground either. You feel me? Don't mean it's gonna come up out the ground. And a lot of that got to do with how you treated the plant before it. That's why I be thinking about plan after plan after plan after plan, because it's like, dang, based on how you did that last plan, it's gonna affect your next plan. Because it's really how your outlook is. Like if you don't believe that it was you that manifested certain things, you're gonna always depend on other shit. And when that shit don't show up, you gonna feel like, oh well, it ain't time for me to get shit. Like shit. Well, I don't got all these other people to do it for me. So I guess it's not meant for me to have it. Like that shit can come in many forms. Like the motherfucker asking to be a millionaire, and then they fuck around and get their foot ran over by a state bus. What? I'm not saying, if you mad about that shit, you might not catch on till you just hit the lotto.
I was listening to motherfucking Neville Goddard talk.
Mm-hmm.
He talking about something. He was talking to a man who had a man has a daughter. His daughter she's young, but she was diagnosed with early rheumatoid arthritis and shit in her arm, and she used to go through excruciating pain. And the man said he would give his right arm and his left leg for his daughter to not go through that pain. While the man got in an accident and had both of those legs, both of those appendages amputated,
Wow.
and his daughter was relieved of her pains.
Wow. You better
And that's
watch it.
Neville Goddard talking.
You better watch what you say. Cause you could have got the, apparently if you could say that, you could have got it another way.
The book that he was talking about, he wrote a book about the power of prayer. That's not the title of it, but it's a
But I'm just saying, if that
prayer.
motherfucker could say that shit and that shit happened like that, he could have got it another way.
Belief is real.
Yeah.
Whatever you believe, and if you really know what you're doing when it comes to prayer, that's why it's
They put so much energy in
chanting.
Yeah, he put so much energy into it because he was like, as much as we be thinking we letting out frustration, like I think that's what Bobby Hemmy be talking about too, though. When he be talking about the power of your emotions and shit, and intentionalizing that shit when you trying to manifest shit, like, I be having the wherewithal to when somebody piss you up, they done there. When somebody piss you off, you know, oh, okay, it's time. Like people that write songs, like, the people that must have wrote Keisha Cole shit, like, they were so precise with that conversation. A lot of times you like, man, did that motherfucker write that shit instead of arguing back with this chick? I mean, I'm just saying, after so long of gearing your mind to write about situations in your life, I do that shit. That's what's been keeping me from arguing with people a lot. You know what I'm saying? I'd be like, you know what? And it helps me to listen to them too. Because I can just jot down what the fuck I'm thinking rather than feeling like, I just gotta say it right now. And it helps me to formulate it artistically, therefore being creative in solutions. I love poetry. Ever since the first time I heard Langston Hughes and Edgar Allan Poe, I was like, what?
I love poetry too. Hello.
Yeah.